Sounds interesting.
Okay, so we are starting the recording. Welcome to the March 10th NAMPA 36 Elders Quorum Social. Tonight we are going to talk about Idaho gems, places that each of us have been in Idaho, in our great state, or maybe even in the Northwest if you want to stretch it, but kind of focusing first on Idaho, places that we've been that we would invite others to maybe go discover those secrets. So I'm going to start by sharing a few, and there's a few of us here. President Birch has stepped away for a moment, but we have Brother Rowley and Brother Simpson. So I'm going to invite you guys, if you have any additional insights with my icebreaker presentation here, please do share. So let me see if I can bring up the app first, and then share my screen. Okay, do you guys see this?
Yes.
This converted into my PowerPoint app into a Google app. Does anybody, Joe, have you ever used this? How do I present? Because
I never have, but
oh, start presentation. Maybe that will help.
there it is.
Okay, there's a full screen. Okay, so again, let's just see if you guys want to refute or add information. Do we have? But we have just a few to start with. We're going to kind of do speed dating of a few places in Idaho. So Craters on the Moon. For those that are Idaho natives, in Idaho history, we learned that actually Arco was a place where Apollo astronauts trained, specifically Apollo 14. The Snake River Plain with its lava flows looks much like the Big Island of Hawaii from the air. Now, that's not something I read, that's something I personally observed. So we've flown to the Big Island a couple of times. We have family there. And I've also flown for business over the state of Idaho. It looks just the same. So the Big Island of Hawaii is basically a live volcano, right? Just flowing. And you look at those lava flows, and there's a surprising amount of lava flow across the Snake River Plain, the part that's not being formed, obviously. And it looks like it could be in Hawaii. It's kind of crazy. This volcanic system is dormant, not extinct, and suggested that by experts that it will erupt again within the next 1,000 years. And then a local fact around Craters on the Moon: Arco was the first city in the world powered with nuclear. So any other things you guys would add, or insights or observations or personal visit to Craters on the Moon and the surrounding area?
When I was in college working with the newspaper for Rick's College, we took a trip out to, I'm trying to remember what it was called back then. Everything was named different back then. Rick's College was named different. Now BYU, Idaho. I think it was INEL.
Yeah, it would have been INEL. Yeah.
Okay. And one of the things we visited was this giant, I don't even know what it was used for, but this giant tank of heavy water. It must have been like 60 feet deep. And I was just struck with how crystal clear the water was for whatever reason. I know that's kind of a goofy memory to share.
Those reactors are amazing. Those test reactors, those breeder reactors. I mean, you can actually see some of the glowing nuclear rods underneath the water in some of those test reactors. So that, I mean, that is.
I didn't get to see that.
Amazing facility. Yeah. Cool stuff. Okay. Anything else on this one, or should we go to the next?
My brother-in-law said he shot an antelope in the Arco area there, and he said it glowed in the dark.
You wouldn't want to eat it, right? I mean, or then you would glow in the dark. That's funny. Okay, the next one. And I'm seeing, are you guys seeing on my screen the Zoom? Is it recording that? Our faces? I might have to try to move it.
I don't know if it's recording our faces.
Okay, yeah. So the next one is the Island Park Caldera. So This is the largest caldera or volcanic basin in the Americas, one of the largest in the world. It is a supervolcano. So and basically, if you look at it, it's interesting. Another reference to Hawaii. Hawaii is right where the tectonic plates are moving across a hot spot. And so these islands keep popping up, right? Because they keep spouting out lava and creating islands. The volcanic activity across the Snake River Plain moves the same direction and looks a lot like Hawaii when you look at the hot spots popping up across the Snake River Plain. And of course, Island Park and Yellowstone are gigantic, right? That caldera, and basically the last eruption covered the western half of the United States. Some projections, if it erupt again, it would truly bring us into nuclear winter, because we would be buried in a meter of ash over much of the United States. So that's a big puppy. Yeah. Anything on Island Park or Yellowstone or that area that any of you want to share?
That's a beautiful place. I got to tell you one little story. Pardon me for telling you this, but anyway,
love to
we
hear
went fishing my brother and I went. He worked this summer in West Yellowstone. He lived there, and we went to visit him, and we went fishing at Island Park Reservoir. And as we were there, a moose and twin calves came down and drank water near us, and I thought that was pretty neat. And we looked over to the the west of us, and a bear was swimming across Island Park Reservoir. It took him about a half an hour to swim across the reservoir, but we watched him the whole way. All you could see is his ears and his head. And he swam across and got out and took off into the woods. But I'll never forget that.
What would make him swim instead of go around?
I don't know. It was right through the middle of the lake, actually, and it was quite a sight to see. It was a black bear. It wasn't a grizzly.
Wow, that is very cool. No, that is a beautiful area. Some amazing wildlife. West Yellowstone. Yep. Go ahead.
One other memory I have from being at college there at Rick's. I only went 1 year there, but up in Island Park, there's Harriman State Park, or right near Island Park. I don't know if it's in or
it's in. Yeah, it's inside. Yep. And
the coolest thing, I used to do a lot of cross country skiing, and that state park, for the $5 price of admission, they had miles and miles of groomed trails, groomed with parallel tracks dug into the, so it was, you just stick your skis in and go. I made several trips up there when I was at college, and just loved it. Great place to go cross country skiing.
That is a beautiful area too. Yep. Yeah, there is so much we could say about the greater Yellowstone area. One interesting thing I'll just add, we don't have a slide for this because it's in Montana, but Quake Lake, if you get a chance to see Quake Lake, that is quite a sight, where the whole mountain just came down in the 50s and buried about a number of campers still under there, but created a lake, an artificial lake that's been now draining, because as it drains back out and carves back out, but you can actually see cabins down under the water that fell into the lake still from the 50s. Have either of you had a chance to see that yet?
No, they call it Quake Lake because of that earthquake in 59, I think it was.
Yeah, it's in fact, there's two lakes. So Hebgen Lake was the existing lake, and it's where you see roads that rippled and fell down into the water. And you can actually still go down and see structures that are in the water. So that was an existing lake. But what happened is the Madison River draining out of the Hebgen Lake got blocked right kind of there as it's coming in, where you were fishing. You got Blackfoot Reservoir, then you got Henry's Fork. So just up north of that, there's the mouth of the Madison River coming out of that canyon. It blocked that canyon, and so it blocked the river up. So they brought the Army Corps of Engineers to come in and try to lower it enough so it wouldn't create another Teton Dam side to scenario over there.
Uh-huh.
It would have pre-existed Teton Dam, but they dug it down enough to kind of release the Madison River, but it created a new lake that's full of just toothpick pine trees, just downstream from Hebgen Lake, that is continually draining as the Madison River continues to carve deeper in that, in that sediment that was dumped over. So it's a temporary lake, temporary as in, it'll last over 100 years, but it's filled with dead trees, and it's just surreal. It's a very fascinating area.
That is
Wow.
wild. Wikipedia has a pretty cool picture of that landslide. Or what I'm assuming is the part that
that part that
down
came
and
across.
blocked it off. Yeah.
Yeah, they're at the visitor center. They have a boulder that is as big as a small house that they say came from the other side of the canyon, but they said it didn't roll. It walked, right? It vibrated across. So there's a house-sized boulder that just flowed from one side to the other without any type of rotation. So just fascinating stuff and beautiful. And of course, we start talking about Yellowstone and there would be no place to stop. So let's go to, if you were fishing over in this area, then whoops, I jumped ahead. Page up. Big Springs. Big Springs is an origin of another tributary of the Madison, I believe. I think it's the Madison that's coming out of Hebgen Lake, and I think they join. But this is a tributary. This is a piece of the Madison River that instantly comes out of the ground. So Big Springs, 12 million gallons each day. It's just there. All of a sudden, there's a river, and it is a sight to see. So what you're seeing in this picture, this T is kind of the headwaters. It's just kind of that, that's a big spring. There's often a moose and a calf in there as well.
Cool.
And it just pops out. There's the river, and there's these gigantic rainbow trout. They're under that bridge. So any experience with Big Springs, either of you?
No, but it is in Montana. Is that correct?
No, this one is in Island Park.
Oh, wow.
This is
Island Park.
Yeah, this is Island Park itself. That and Mesa Falls, which we don't have a picture of that, but an impressive falls. But this is,
I've never even heard of this.
it is the most amazing spring to see. Just instant river, beautiful, clear. So definitely in Idaho. Jim? Of course, Hell's Canyon, when we're talking about extremes, right? We haven't featured this either, but Shoshone Falls, it's actually deeper than Niagara Falls. So we have some things that really compete. It turns out that this canyon, Hell's Canyon, is the deepest in North America. So another extreme. We got the biggest caldera, the falls to compete with Niagara, the deepest canyon in North America. We're even going to look at the largest freestanding dune in North America with Bruno Dunes. So these are a lot of Idaho kind of extremes. This is over a mile average depth. Beautiful canyon. And I think we can think whatever your environmental stance is on dams and salmon runs, the complex of dams on this river generate a lot of our hydropower, by far the majority, which is why we pay some of the best rates in the nation for power. So if they ever decide to breach those dams, our power bills are going to go up. But beautiful. Any stories on the Snake River drainage that goes up the Idaho-Oregon border?
Boy, I've got stories for everything.
Okay, let's hear it.
I'm
Give us a
sorry. I had teachers in elementary school that had to tell me to stop telling stories.
I don't want to do all the talking, so please.
So we've lived here since what, 03, so almost 18 years now. And I had never seen Hell's Canyon in person until just this last fall. And Sharon and I took a flight up to Joseph, Oregon, which is super cool. And on the way, we just toured up Hell's Canyon, and it's like you say, I mean, nearly 8,000 feet at the deepest point. We were flying at 10,500, more or less level with the Devils off to the right, and
Yeah.
you know, the bottom of the canyon down at what, 2,500 feet above sea level. You know, 8,000 feet below us. And looking down, I still have never seen it from inside, but looking down, I mean, I told Shara, I can see why they call it Hell's Canyon. You know, those ridge lines are just, they're out of this world. How steep everything is, it's incredible. I
Yeah.
was amazed.
Flying over would be an awesome way to see it.
Oh, it was fun.
I've yet to see Hell's Canyon, and I hope to someday. But just south of Brownlee, there's a place that we go. My brother showed me where it was. It's a little state park called Steck Park. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Any of you guys? Guess not. Steck Park is a state park just about 13 miles west of Weiser. So it's just below the Brownlee Dam. But it's a cute little park. It's really nice. They do a lot of heavy duty catfishing there and crappie and bass. But the railroad tracks go across right there, and we found the neatest little campground, and it was right next to the railroad tracks. Wow, that's pretty neat. And the train went by. We thought that was kind of neat. But before the night was over, 31 trains had gone over that track, and they have to blow their two longs and a short and a long whistle because they have had fishermen on the railroad bridge, and they had to warn them because it's a pretty narrow bridge. But we have since moved to another spot on down in the campground because the noise level was deafening.
That's crazy. They'd put an overnight camp there.
Oh.
Listen, if you want to try somewhere else just above Brownlee, probably just before you start to go down in the valley, we found a little turnoff, and it is in a Forest Service campground that it was the most amazing little campground because, I mean, it had a road, but not used very much going up the middle of it, but it was about probably 14 sites, but bordered on both sides by 2 creeks. And so you're in the middle of these 2 creeks, and just a fantastic little 14 site, very quiet, pull off, really private because you can just get behind and kind of really feel like you're by yourself and by those creeks. And that's just before you start to go down into the Brownlee Basin there. So that's another fun one to try if you.
Do you remember the name of it?
No, but I'd be happy to look it up. We want to go back, so I would look on the. I'll look it up because we want to make sure and go back because it was kind of a favorite for us. But we'll have to try out Steck Park too, but maybe not for an overnighter, huh?
Oh, it's okay if you move on down the line a little ways.
Oh, okay.
And, it's actually a pretty nice little park. There's a lot of big sycamore trees there and things right along the river. And it's a pretty view. It's just you watch out for the trains.
Yeah, that is an amazing area. You get down into those, and Brownlee's very fascinating as well. All right. Anything to add, President? You been okay? Let's see. Let's go on to the next one, Bruno Dunes. So one really close to us. The largest freestanding dune in America, so another Idaho extreme. So what makes, of course, I don't know if you've been to the coast, Southern Oregon, there's dunes, and over by up around St. Anthony, there's dunes, right? But this is a single structure, large dune. And the thing that makes this really unique is it forms in the middle of a basin. Usually dunes are up against the edge of a valley and they'll kind of create dunes, where this, just the way that the the river and the valley and the wind interacts. It's created this freestanding dune in the middle of the valley, which is really, really unique, apparently. With if you've been up on top, that deep, crazy vortex in it, just a really fascinating formation that's fun to visit. But do it in the spring or the fall, as it gets hot up on top of that dune, up on that ridge line.
My family went there 2 years ago, and we stayed overnight. There's two campgrounds there. One was called Wagon Wheel because it's shaped like a wagon wheel, and the other one I can't remember the name of it, but both of them offer like RV or tent camping. There's actually like nice bathrooms there and showers. We actually stayed in one of two cabins that are there. They're really small. They basically had like a bunk bed and a double bed, and then like the futon laid down as well. But it does have air conditioning and power, so you can charge your cell phones and all that. But really cool place to visit because it's, like you were saying, very unique. You can slide down the sand dunes on like cardboard, or there's actually a fishing game, I guess, building out there that you can go in. They have snacks there that you can buy. They have some souvenirs and stuff, but they actually let you rent some wood. They're kind of like really small, like snowboards, but they're made out of like solid wood so that you can slide down the dunes on those. And then they have like these cool, like little backpacks full of different things like binoculars, bug catchers, nets, maps, and all kinds of things that they'll check out to you for free. And there's a little exhibit there in that same building. Also, there's like this huge telescope that is run by an organization, and next to that telescope is a building that they do like free astronomy courses, like that they talked about several different astronomy programs. And then if you want, you can line up and go into the telescope. I think it costs like, I think it was like $4 a person, something like that. It wasn't very much, but you get to look at that, and they'll shine it at different things. And then they actually had another astronomy group there with smaller telescopes pointed at different constellations or planets, and so it's quite cool. They also had a free nighttime walk that you went out and found scorpions using black lights. They actually glow in the dark, which was kind of cool. They're really small. Most of them are about 2 to 3 inches in size, but obviously they can grow bigger than that. The other thing that's unique about Bruno sand dunes, and you can kind of see that in the smaller picture, is that there's a couple of small beautiful lakes there that people fish in, and you could paddle board, whatever you wanted. They're actually large enough that they have a couple of spots where you can put boats in. My girls and I, we swam in a couple of the lakes there, and it's just like very extreme, from desert right up to the little lakes. So kind of an interesting, unique piece of land.
Thank you. Other Bruno insights or experiences?
We want to go back. It was cool.
Let me tell you one place that why Bruno is a favorite for us is when it's too early to go camping somewhere else. Bruno is temperate. So late March, we've camped in late March there comfortably, not these survival Boy Scout camp, when you go with the boys and just survive a cold night. A nice day in March, you can be comfortable there, and definitely in April because of those grassy campgrounds and the warm showers. It's just a really wonderful springtime camp when you're itching to get out, and it might be too cold to go up in the mountains yet. So a really great place. All right, City of Rocks, let's just one that is a state park. These granite formations, they're old. We've been up in there, but we want to explore a little more. Anybody been to City of Rocks?
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
It's been a long time for me too, but I can remember on the far end, if you're coming in, I believe from the north end of the park, at the south end, you can see like a rock that looks like it's balanced, like teeter-tottered on another one, but obviously it's so far off that it's that illusion. As you get closer, you realize that the point is much wider, right?
Oh, right.
And it's balanced. I can remember climbing. They actually had in some of the rock formations placed hand and footholds that you could climb up some of the rocks. And I can remember one where on the top there was a giant like dish, and it was probably a good 6 feet around diameter
Really?
that would capture water. And apparently that's where cowboys and stuff would hide out and get washed up and different things. And so there's a lot to explore there in the City of Rocks.
Oh, cool.
That's on my bucket list.
Where about is this?
It's kind of south of Twin.
Go down to Oakley, down past Oakley.
Yeah.
Isn't that the hometown of Elder Haight? Not
My
sure.
dad was born in Oakley.
Oh, there you go. It's Rex's roots.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have relatives in buried in Oakley.
Yeah, me too.
Correct?
Sounds like you guys need to do that. Yeah. On your bucket list, you need to do some, you can do some family visiting while you're there.
Yep.
All right. The next feature is on our bucket list. We've never been there because it always just seemed too weird. Because the claim of the long and juicy hamburger, we haven't yet had the courage to have one, having lived here now 27 years. Has anybody had a Wheeler's long and juicy burger?
Here, I'm raising my hand.
And do you recommend it?
They have changed. When we were here 30 years ago, it was the burgers were square or rectangular, and the buns were awesome. And now they're okay. I'd give them a 7 or 8 out of 10. But back then, I considered them a 10 because of their uniqueness, and they tasted pretty darn good.
And they've gone to regular bread, huh?
Yeah.
Where is it located?
Right across from Fred Meyer's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Canyon Street, right?
Yeah.
Now that I go to the Canyon building all the time, I
Yeah.
drive right past it even more often than I have before. But I'm the same as Boyd. 17 years I've been driving past that place, never once stopped.
They actually get you in pretty good. You order in that window that you see and drive around to the other window and pick up your order, and they're actually pretty quick. And they even serve fingers. I see it says frog legs there. They also serve some nice finger steaks as well. In fact, we went there last week. My mother-in-law, she had a hankering for a Wheeler's, and so we loaded her up and took her for a ride to Wheeler's for a hamburger.
I am glad, Brother Simpson, you can recommend it. So maybe we really do need to follow through on that, Joe.
This is going to have to be a family outing. Pretty
Yeah,
soon.
I want to try it.
They had a sign up there. They have remodeled a little bit. The sign that you see is complete now. They did a redo, but they had a sign up of an offer. It was called an 18-wheeler, and it was some huge 2-pound stuff, 3-pound. But if you ate the whole meal, you got it free. One of those deals. But
Doesn't sound good.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. All righty. Well, to round it off, the last thing of I don't know gems is Rednecks. Have you guys ever done this with the back of your pickup? I think we're going to try it this summer.
Not on purpose.
No, I never have.
No, I don't mean the top one, the jumping. I mean the pull in the pickup bed.
If I had a
Okay.
pickup, I would probably try it.
Yeah, we got to try it. So that's all that we'd prepared. So what let's just take just a little bit of time now. Maybe it's kind of made us think of a few things. So let's share with the few of us here. Are there other things that any of us experienced that we should get on our bucket list for Idaho gems?
In Horseshoe Bend, they used to have a train that you could ride there. Unfortunately, I think they sold that and don't run it anymore. But when it was running, that was a blast. I know most of the camping that my family does is with Jill's family on the other side of the state, and so we will camp like up just above St. Anthony in Warm River. There's a Riverside campground up there, but in recent years we've been to places like Bear Canyon and Stoddard Creek and those types of areas, and that's where we typically go back year after year.
Where is that again, Rex?
It's Stoddard Creek and Steel Creek. They're across the freeway from each other off the interstate up above, past Roberts, like past Idaho Falls, keep going up north.
Okay.
Just above Spencer. So Spencer has the I think it's the world capital for opals. So if you like, we did this last year. We did opal hunting there. They bring the mine tillings out and you dig through them and find raw opals. So that's fun too.
That would be cool.
Very nice.
We went up a couple years ago. I'm still a little undecided about this trail, but just outside Weiser, you go into Weiser and you hang a right at one of the lights. But there's an old railroad grade that ran along the left side of the river from Weiser clear up through into Cottonwood and what is that, Midvale up in there. It's like a 50-mile trail.
Wow.
That is abandoned railroad, Joe?
Yeah, and as much as I've been on it, there's no ties or tracks. So like they've pulled up all of the railroad, but it's the abandoned grade.
Yep.
And so because of that, I mean, like this is the angle that you're climbing at. It's just a long walk in the park with no one around. So as far as hiking in the mountains, it doesn't quite do it for me, but to get out and let the dog run and let the kids run, it's nice because it's like
it's kind of a prairie mix, right? It's really not. It's kind of a prairie mix there, north of there. So you have a lot of open meadow and stuff, right?
Yep, open meadow. It's all along the river. Yeah, there's no cover, so don't go in the middle of summer. But if you just like a long, there was a day when I just needed a day off work, and I told Shara, hey, I'm taking Bo, and I just went and I walked for a couple hours until I turned around and came back. I don't even know where I got to. But it's a cool little trail. It would be a fun one, like to do with the Boy Scouts on mountain bikes, and like ride from Weiser to Cottonwood or something.
Yeah. You remind me of that Hiawatha Trail up north. Have you heard of that?
Is that the one with the tunnels?
Yes, and it's a 15-mile bike trail, and it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd like to do that one someday.
That one's still on our bucket list. We made it up there, but didn't get it done. Have you done that, Brother Simpson?
No, I haven't. I want to do it.
Yeah, it was our intent. I think the weather was bad when we were up north, so an excuse to go back up because that does sound amazing.
I was going to say, on your travels to Idaho Falls or back to East Pocatello, when you go that way on the freeway, right along the freeway, there's a thing there. It's near Massacre Rock, which is an okay campground, but there's a place called Signature Rock. It's pretty unique because it's about a mile off the freeway. You have to drive back to it. But a young fella, I don't even know, can't remember his name. He had artistic abilities. He was about 8 years old, and he chiseled an Indian into the rock. And it's still there. You can see it, but the dirt and debris has brought it, so they had to dig it out. But he came back there in 1907 or 1917 and chiseled the date back in there and cleaned it up a little bit. But the same guy, 60 some years later, came in and redid that rock. It's called Signature Rock, I believe.
That's awesome.
And you'll see it on the way to, it's on the freeway, right alongside the freeway. But it's an interesting point to stop at.
So
Yeah.
you do the exit for Massacre Rocks. Is that where you find it?
Yeah, but you, instead of turning north to Massacre Rock, you turn south, and it's just a little, it's a paved road to it. And it's actually a little park that you can have a picnic in. But to see this rock and to see what this little young kid did, and then come back and chisel some more on it years and years and years later. He made it to San Francisco or someplace like that and became an artist there. And so it's a pretty significant little rock for a pioneer person to do that.
It's amazing.
But I'd recommend on your way, just make a quick stop and have a look at it when you go that way.
We will.
Sounds good.
Hey, Joe, why is Joseph a cool place? You're on mute. You said that you flew to Joseph?
Yeah, I couldn't find my unmute button.
Yeah.
So it came highly recommended as a day trip. Do you watch many Hallmark specials, like Hallmark holiday movies?
You think we're going to own up to that? We might watch our wife watch them, but
do your wife watch?
I've watched Christmas in July for 6 months now.
So seriously, when we, as far as an aviation trip, it's super cool because it's just this cool little airport and like a mile walk down into town. So it's super accessible. It's pretty. But the thing is I hit Main Street and like I was looking around for the cameras, I mean, it was like a Hallmark holiday special. We were walking along, there was even a handyman came out with his tool belt on and started loading up his pickup truck in the middle of Main Street. I'm looking for like the hard charging big city lawyer who's back in town visiting her family, and she's going to fall in love with the handyman and learn that life, you need to slow down. It's a cool, quaint, cute little town. Totally worth the trip.
Okay, on my bucket list here.
It's a little tough to get to driving because you kind of have to go roundabout to get there. But it's a cool place. I'm trying to find a couple of pictures of some things that I think might be interesting too. But I just changed laptops and I don't have Dropbox synced anymore.
Oh, the other thing I was going to mention about Horseshoe Bend is apparently they have zip lines up there now that you can do. So I'll have to go check that out.
Up in that area, listen, I mean, Idaho has a lot of whitewater, obviously. I mean, a number of runs, right? And all levels of technicality, but right there above Horseshoe Bend, Banks to Beehive above Horseshoe is the nicest family type of run. It's just perfect. And you can tour it. You can take a touring company for 40 to 50 a person. And it has about 5 spots of some really nice whitewater, but in a way, so it gets your blood pumping, but it's not so dangerous that you couldn't just take your family, right? You couldn't just take your family and A lot of that river you can jump off and just float and swim and then get back on. So I love that. That's the main, right? But of all there's a lot of offerings, but for family accessibility, I'd say at any age, that Banks to Beehive, with just one of those couple of companies. I like, what's their name? Bear Creek or Bear something. They do a nice job. And I mean, and we've floated it with friends who've had the equipment. So we've done it with tour companies and just with friends, and just a really nice family accessible, give you the still water and the rapids. If you haven't had a chance to do that, it's just along the same, it's the same run as that railroad, Rex, right? It's just
Yeah.
that's the main part.
You put in at Banks and float down.
Yep.
We did that as a kind of a family deal. There was like 14 of us, and we had a wonderful time. We did that rafting company that's down there.
Yeah.
I forget the name of it, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that run up in there.
They what?
There's a couple of them. There's 2 or 3 companies that run up in there, but we like the one that we've liked the best is something Bear River, Bear Creek, Bear something. That we found them to be very reasonable, very good to work with, a nice little tour.
I agree with you. It was a very pleasant run. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. That's a good one for a family gathering.
Yeah. Rex, you know what I miss about Horseshoe Bend? You don't get to see Bread Loaf Rock anymore. Are you familiar with Bread Loaf Rock?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until you said it.
On the old highway going up to Horseshoe Bend, you could look down in the canyon, and there was a big rock in the shape of a loaf of bread, and a slice had fallen off of it, and they painted it up to make it look like a slice of bread.
Oh my goodness.
And you can still see it, but you have to drive on the old highway to see it. You can't see it from the new thing, because they had to build that because the mountain slid off. And so they rebuilt it on the other side, and it bypassed that Bread Loaf Rock.
So you know all of the artistic pull-offs, it sounds like, Brother Simpson. You know all the classic art spots.
When I was a kid, I remember that Bread Loaf Rock. It was so cool, and we always, okay, there it is, and you could see it as you drove by on the old highway. But it's still there, and it's still kind of a sight to see. Just have to work at it a little bit.
Okay, well, let's call it for let's do a 3-minute call. Any last must-sees?
I'll show a couple of little things here if I can share screen.
Okay.
Real quick, I'm just.
Are we still recording?
Yes.
Oh, man.
And kind of piggybacking off of one of yours, Boyd, I recently flew out, followed the Snake River along out to Glenn's Ferry and back, just for fun. And this is what really surprised me, is that this here is Bruno Dunes.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
You know, like it just seeing it in its context surprised me, that it's like farmland, giant dune, farmland.
That is cool.
It's an anomaly out in the middle of nowhere.
Almost looks like a crater.
Yeah,
it kind of does.
A butte. It looks like a butte out there, but see how it's kind of in that middle of that basin, and just somehow just the conditions are just right.
Yeah.
Wow, that is a really cool shot, Joe. Wow.
There's another
Wow.
angle of it. It's really wild. I've got a couple that I took while I was going by. As the phone zooms in, you lose fidelity, of course. There's 3 Island Crossing.
Oh, cool.
And actually right here is Glenn's Ferry Airport.
Wow.
And this was cool too, to see, you know, just to imagine, I don't know where they came through, but I imagine the pioneers would have been coming through this way, headed west, because this is more or less eastish over here, down through this little depression here, and then across the river on those 3 islands, and then continue on their way to Oregon.
They say that's a very nice campground too. It's a state park as well.
Yeah, I think the state park is right here at the end of, or yeah, over in here off
That
the
is
end of that
awesome.
runway.
Brother Simpson, we drove by because we wanted to check it out, and I think it was closed for COVID last summer when we were driving there, but it had like a museum or some building there. Do you know what that building is by the state park?
No, I haven't investigated it that much. I'm curious now.
Yeah. Didn't know what it was.
I'm just kind of,
So where's that train headed? That's a train to nowhere, Joe.
yeah, that's why I took that picture. It was, I assume they're just filling up grain cars with grain, because it's this big.
Is that right there off the freeway? Those grain elevators right off the freeway by, it's not, is it Bliss?
This is,
Listen,
no, this is going to be
Hubble.
west of Mountain Home.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
But this is another cool one that I wanted to show you. This is out west of Mountain Home as well, and these craters are actually charted on VFR charts that you use for flying, because they're so distinct. Just these 2 giant holes in the ground out there in the middle of the desert.
Wow.
Easy.
What are those buttes or meteor craters or what the heck are those?
I think they're meteor craters.
Hmm.
Actually, you know what? That's the assumption I make. I shouldn't say so confidently.
Or
My
some
assumption is
flats?
that they're meteor craters. They could well be sinkholes,
Yeah,
but
volcanoes.
I mean, they're big. This is a road right here running along it, so they're not small. They're kind of along the lines of that crater out 12th Avenue Road down out of town past the turnoff to Marsing, before you get to the river and Map Rock Road. There's a big crater off to the right side of the road there too.
Been up all around in that area, but not gone and seen that.
Yeah.
So many secret places we got to go visit.
And then I think that's probably one of the best shots of it right there.
That is amazing.
And then I'll see if I can find one last thing real quick that is super interesting, at least for me. But of course, I have 6 million pictures to go through.
Yeah, I mean, who has their hand on the stick in this plane? Who's flying this puppy?
I was solo on both of these. You get some altitude under you, and the nice thing is that a plane knows how to fly. It knows how to fly quite a bit better than I know how to fly. So you can take your hand off the wheel from time to time. So this is out between Mountain Home and Boise. There's 2 of these that I found. These are old airway beacons. The real classic pilots, the airmail pilots, this is how they would navigate. Let's see, I'm trying to find the other good one that I have. This is how they would navigate from coast to coast. These concrete arrows every 10 miles from the East Coast to the West Coast. They would have a utility shed on the tail. They would have a lighted beacon on this middle pad, and then the head of the arrow shows them where the next beacon is. So no GPS, nothing fancy. They'd just be flying along, looking out the window, looking for these little tiny arrows on the ground. Figure out
Where
how
is
to
this?
get.
Where is this again?
These are both out between Boise and Mountain Home.
Because there was the road, the Simcoe Road used to be called Beacon Light Road. The exit there used to be, does anyone remember that? Beacon Light exit?
You might have a connection there.
It makes sense to me now.
It might. This one may be right in that area that you're talking about. I would have to look up on some resources again. There aren't many of these left. A lot of them have been plowed over or built over or just deteriorated and destroyed.
Hey Joe, I looked up those holes, and they're called crater rings. Is the name of it?
Crater rings. Okay.
Yeah, it says they're it says pit craters in the western Snake River Plain, about 8 miles northwest of Mountain Home. They are one of the few examples of volcanic craters in the continental U.S. The craters are at the summit of a broad shield volcano.
Wow.
Volcanic craters makes a whole lot more sense given everything that Boyd showed us.
Yeah, that's what it's called, crater rings.
Cool. Well, guys, I think we need to keep sharing. This has been fun. I've got a lot of things I want to go do. So any parting comments, Rex?
Nope. Keep exploring.
I keep exploring. All right. Thanks everyone for joining this evening. Have a
Thank
great
you. That was
night.
fun.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye for now.
See you later. Good night.